All right, strap in, everyone. We're about to embark on a deep dive, headed straight for the flight deck.
Taking off into the world of second officers? Love it.
You sent over some really interesting excerpts from RoleCatcher, all about what it means to be a second officer.
Absolutely fascinating stuff.
So today, we'll unpack everything about this role,
Everything.
from their daily life in the cockpit
The ins and outs.
to the skills you need.
And the career path ahead.
Whether you're considering this career or just curious about the people behind those cockpit doors,
Buckle up.
this deep dive is for you.
I've got to say, these RoleCatcher guides are seriously impressive.
I know, right? Super detailed.
They've packed in so much. It's like they interviewed every second officer out there.
They've got it all. Career guides, interview tips, comparisons to other jobs.
We're talking the A to Z of second officer life here.
Okay, so let's jump right in. What does a second officer actually do all day? The excerpts mention monitoring aircraft systems, but
Yeah, that's a bit vague, isn't it?
it doesn't quite paint the full picture.
It's way more dynamic than just watching dials and flipping switches.
Right. What does it actually mean in practice?
Imagine you're the human safeguard against any potential hiccups. You're making sure everything's running smoothly.
Wow. So everything from fuel levels to cabin pressure?
Absolutely. You're responsible for making sure it's all precisely where it needs to be for a safe and smooth flight.
That's a huge responsibility.
It really is. And it's not just reacting to problems as they pop up. Remember those fuel calculations you mentioned?
Yeah.
That's like a real-time aeronautical puzzle right there.
A puzzle. How so?
Well, you're constantly adjusting for different altitudes, weather changes, and even potential diversions. It's dynamic.
Wow, I never thought about it that way.
It's intricate work.
And then there's weight and balance. Did you know that an unevenly loaded plane can handle totally differently in the air?
Really? I had no idea.
It's true. Every single bag, every passenger, it all factors in.
So the second officer makes sure it's all balanced. Precisely. They play a crucial role in making sure the weight's distributed for optimal flight.
It's all about precision.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Foresight, too. And having that deep understanding of how each system impacts the aircraft as a whole.
Okay, so it's way more involved than I initially thought. But what about the work environment itself?
Ah, yes.
It's not always the most glamorous, right?
Right. RoleCatcher mentions things like tight spaces and potential for, shall we say, discomfort?
Yeah, let's be real about the less glamorous parts of the job.
Of course. We're talking long hours, irregular schedules, often under pressure.
And dealing with the unexpected.
Exactly. Turbulence, equipment hiccups, challenging weather.
It's all part of the job.
We've got to be ready for anything.
It's not a job for everyone, that's for sure. Which makes me wonder, what kind of person thrives in that environment? RoleCatcher said soft skills are surprisingly important, even more than technical know-how.
Definitely. You're crammed in that cockpit.
Right, tight quarters.
A small team making huge decisions. Communication can't just be clear. It's got to be efficient, too, especially in an emergency.
Oh, for sure, one miscommunication at 30,000 feet.
Exactly. And don't forget stress management. That's where those cool and collected folks really shine.
Like, able to think on their feet?
Yep. RoleCatcher even said they test for that in interviews.
Yeah, they had some interesting examples. That one about handling emergencies, but on a ship, not a plane.
Right. Threw me off at first.
Me too.
But it makes sense. They're trying to figure out if you can stay calm, assess the situation, and act fast, no matter what's happening.
They want that universal ability to handle pressure.
Exactly. Because aviation is high stakes. No way around it.
Absolutely. And it's not just reacting to what's right there in front of you either, right?
Nope. RoleCatcher said second officers have to be adaptable, always learning.
Which makes sense. The world of aviation tech is always changing.
Non-stop.
Yeah.
Like they gave the example of avionics, the electronic systems. Those are like the brains of the plane.
Right. And those systems are constantly getting more complex.
Exactly. It's constant innovation. Flight management systems, autopilot tech. It's incredible how fast it's all evolving.
So second officers are working with some seriously cutting-edge stuff.
Oh, yeah, they're right there on the front lines of it. That's why RoleCatcher really stressed ongoing training, professional development.
Got to stay ahead of the curve. So we talk about the daily grind, the skills.
The need for speed. Okay.
But what about the actual career ladder? What's it look like to climb the ranks as a second officer?
RoleCatcher did a great job outlining that. They even had those little profiles, someone at each stage. Starts with entry level, of course.
Makes sense. Everyone starts somewhere.
They're still learning the ropes, assisting with those crucial tasks, monitoring, pre-flight checks.
Soaking it all in.
Totally. But since they're handling those core duties from day one, they're building a really solid foundation for everything that comes later. Then you move up to junior second officer.
Okay, what changes there?
Things get interesting. It's not just assisting anymore. You're taking more control, making more decisions on your own, really building your
No
expertise.
autonomy, higher stakes.
Exactly. RoleCatcher's example for this stage, they talked about someone who could do pre-flight inspection solo, handle small repairs, even troubleshoot mid-flight.
Wow, so you're not just reacting, you're thinking ahead, anticipating problems.
Big difference. And you're still doing those core things, verifying cargo, monitoring fuel, all that, but there's that added layer of responsibility.
So if junior second officer is where you really start to fly solo, what's it like at the top? Senior second
All
officer.
right, picture this. You're in the cockpit, but now you've got years of experience. You've seen it all. Routine stuff, hairy situations, the works. You're not just monitoring systems, you're overseeing them,
Working closely with the pilots.
right? Making sure everything runs perfectly,
Yeah.
like a well-oiled machine,
You're the captain of the systems.
pretty much. And just like a captain, you've got a crew to mentor. Senior second officers, they guide the junior officers, help them handle the challenges, develop their own skills. They're shaping the future.
That's pretty amazing, passing on the knowledge. So you're at the top of your game as a senior second officer, but RoleCatcher made it clear, even veterans have to stay sharp.
Oh, absolutely, especially with tech changing so fast.
Like they said, the only constant is change, especially in aviation.
Right. They gave some really cool examples of how that's playing out, like autopilot systems are getting so advanced they can practically handle the whole flight.
So if the plane can almost fly itself, what does that mean for the second officer?
Million-dollar question. It doesn't mean they're obsolete, but their role is changing, that's for sure.
How so?
Well, as tech takes over the routine stuff, the second officer becomes more focused on high-level monitoring, analysis, decision-making.
Less hands-on flying, more strategic thinking.
You got it.
Mm.
They need a deeper understanding of those systems than ever before.
To be able to react when things go wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings us right back to that need for continuous learning, being adaptable.
Always learning. So we've covered the daily life, the skills, the career path, even the future of the role. But what about actually landing the job? Any tips from RoleCatcher?
Oh, yeah. Their section on interview prep was great. Super insightful tips. And not just general stuff, but specifically for aspiring second officers.
They had those practice interview questions. I
Oh.
remember that one about working on a bridge team.
Seemed a little random.
It did.
But they're cleverly checking your teamwork, communication.
Those are crucial no matter where you work.
Exactly.
They're really trying to get a feel for the whole package, not just if you can memorize a manual.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher doesn't just help you ace the interview. They also encourage you to look at other paths, just in case there's an even better fit out there.
Oh, right. They had that whole section, adjacent careers. For second officer, it was drone pilot, helicopter pilot, even aircraft maintenance engineer.
So many options. Makes you realize, even if second officer isn't the perfect fit, this deep dive into aviation opens up all these other possibilities.
That's so true. It's about finding the right path for you, your skills.
What you're passionate about. Speaking of paths, it gets me thinking about something else RoleCatcher talked about, the whole question of the future for second officers.
Yeah, they mentioned those rapid technological advancements, how it's shaking things up in the industry.
Exactly. Makes you wonder, will technology eventually replace human second officers altogether?
That's the million-dollar question. Is there even an answer?
It's tough to say for sure. But what's clear from RoleCatcher, the role's already changing. As tech handles more of those routine manual tasks, the second officer's job becomes more about higher-level thinking.
Less about physically flying the plane, more about strategy.
Right. It's about deeply understanding those systems, being able to predict problems, handle those what-if situations, make decisions when it really counts. Like a human brain working alongside these incredible machines.
Now, that's an interesting way to look at it. So instead of being replaced, second officers step into this even more crucial role, the strategic decision makers.
Exactly. And here's another point RoleCatcher made. All this rapid change, it actually creates a demand for second officers who can adapt really well, those quick learners, because the only constant is change. So learning, adapting, that's what matters most.
Knowing today's tech isn't enough, you got to be ready for tomorrow's.
Thanks.
Wow, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. So for someone out there thinking about becoming a second officer, what's the one thing you hope they take away from this?
I'd say this. It's not just a job. It's a commitment to lifelong learning, to being at the forefront of aviation. It's tough, demanding, but ultimately incredibly rewarding.
I love that. It's about having your head in the clouds, but your feet on the ground, ready for anything. This has been amazing. Thanks for joining me.
Anytime.
And to everyone listening, until next time, happy landings.